Okay, so we're 30 seconds to go live. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Hello, Councilman Clark.
Madam President,
Councilwoman Hercules.
good evening.
Good evening, Madam President.
Joshua, am I saying your name? Hi, your name correct? It's Godfrey.
Joshua Godfrey, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Great, and thank you everyone for being with us here this evening. I am calling to order the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee meeting of Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 to order. This meeting is also being broadcasted by Hartford Public Access TV.org, channel 96 on Comcast, and channel 6032 on Frontier. It's also on our Facebook page. So this evening, we have 5 items on the agenda, and I'm going to go through that as Councilman Gale has asked me to hold on for a little bit until he logs in. He's coming from another meeting. So item 2.1 this evening is going to be a resolution confirming the appointment of Joshua Godfrey to the Pension Commission, which we have him here on the screen. Welcome. The second item, item 2.2, is an company resolution authorizing the ground lease of 270, 292, and 298 Albany Avenue and 10 Green Street to Endeleep Enterprise LLC. And to my recollection, this was on the agenda before us in the prior OMBGA meeting, but needed clearance from the NRZ, the Clay Arsenal NRZ, which it's been mentioned to me that the meeting went very well. So obviously, I believe we will not have a presentation, but just an update from the NRZ, and then we'll take that item up for a vote. Item 2.3 is Mayor Boner with a company ordinance amendment of section 32-18 of the municipal code, which is the elderly tax relief. And we have our tax collector, John Phillips, that's going to be presenting on that. We also have item 2.4, which is a resolution from Majority Leader Clark, Council President Rosado, Assistant Majority Leader Rossetti, Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon, and it's a resolution calling for ICOMPAS to be used across city boards, commissions, and task forces to increase transparency. And finally, item 2.5 is the ordinance on the COLA. On the screen, we also have our town clerk, Mr. Norel McGregor, from his office, Haley Green. As I see them, I'm going to acknowledge my council colleagues, which are Councilwoman Tiana Hercules, our Majority Leader, TJ Clark, Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon, Councilman John Gale. We have members from the Hartford Public Access TV. We also have our Deputy Town Clerk, Eric Lusa, and from Councilwoman Surgeon and Clark's office, Sadaya. Welcome, everyone. I hope I didn't miss anyone. And of course, from DDS, we have our Director, Charles Matthews, along with his staff, William Diaz and Aaron Howard. So without further ado, I am going to start with our agenda, which is item 2.1, with a company resolution confirming the appointment of Joshua B. Godfrey to the Pension Commission. And let's see here. Joshua, what I'm going to do is I am going to ask you to briefly give us an introduction, and then I'll open it up for our council colleagues for questions. So with that said, I am going to read the appointment. It says, attached for your consideration is a resolution confirming the appointment of Joshua B. Godfrey to the Pension Commission. I am submitting Mr. Godfrey's nomination based upon his extensive experience in wealth and asset management. Mr. Godfrey is a partner and co-founder at Godfrey and Sundberg Wealth Management, LLC. And I will open up the floor to you so that you can provide us with an introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm honored to be nominated. Here's just a very brief background. I grew up near Torrington. My parents were both in medicine. My mom was a nurse before she passed away. My dad's a small town doctor, still does house calls. I started a wealth management firm with a partner about 20 years ago. We've now grown to where we have 25 colleagues and manage over $1.7 billion. I've lived in Hartford for the past 16 years. My wife and I live over in the West End with our 3 kids, 14, 12, and 3. I love the city. I care deeply about it and its vibrancy. And I think by working on the pension committee, I think I can have a positive impact on the city. I look forward to working with the other commissioners and the treasurer as part of this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Godfrey. And now I am going to open it up to my council colleagues for questions. Majority Leader Clark, followed by Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon.
Thank you, Madam President and Chair, and through you. Ms. Godfrey, I've heard much about you from the mayor. Congratulations on him putting your name forward for a nomination. I wanted to know, what is your level of experience with municipal pension funds?
Sure. So I've had over the past 20 years, we've done quite a bit. Originally, we started working with teachers and helping them with retirement and learning the teacher retirement system and that pension fund inside and out. We then had an opportunity about 8 or 9 years ago. The state of Connecticut had an issue that was grieved and ended up going through with a SAG award. And we worked and spent a lot of time on their pension fund as well. So, you know, not an unlimited amount of time, but certainly understand the ins and outs of a lot of the local pensions.
And if you were to be confirmed to the pension fund, what's your thoughts on trying to grow the pension fund? I believe that there's still a gap of an unfunded balance. So how would you look to do that? What recommendations, and how would you look to really grow our pension fund and diversify our investments?
Sure. So, I've reviewed what's available publicly and spent a lot of time on that so far. I'm sure that there's a lot more of the specifics that I don't yet understand. And so it's going to be hard for me to answer you definitively. But, obviously keeping the pension fund and making it as healthy as possible is going to be very important.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Majority Leader Clark. Councilwoman Surgeon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good evening, Mr. Godfrey, and welcome. And thank you very much for considering, joining our pension commission with the city of Hartford. I think my 2 questions are looking at my notes, Councilman Clark. Ask my 2
I'm sorry.
2 most important questions.
I apologize.
So let me go to something. You said you lived in Hartford for the last 16 years with your with 3 children. What are your thoughts? One of the things I found is that, I congratulate and thank people like yourself for wanting to participate and serve the city of Hartford. But what are your concerns? One of my concerns is teaching kids, financial literacy. What are your thoughts on that? Have you done any reach out to in the community groups? Because what I find, and one of my pet peeve in the city of Hartford right now is a lot of check cashing places, and knowing that, the city banks so much money with different financial institutions. How can you help us with those social civic issues within the city?
So I don't know that I don't know that I have a solution for that, but I think I agree with your comment, and I think it's incredibly prevalent both in the city and unfortunately outside of the city as well. And it's one of those things where it's probably as important to learn that as it is writing and reading and math and other things like that in order to really be able to make sure that you're not taken advantage of in society. So I think it's a great point.
Great, thank you. Now, you said you started your corporation maybe about 20 years ago, I think you said, with a partner. How did you get involved in this field of investment?
Sure. So I think growing up in the family I did, my partner is has his parents were both in education. I think, we both came from a background of service, and so I think the idea really was really to try to help people with their retirement the same way as 50 years ago a physician would help people with their with their health and things like that, and really to be able to take care of a family.
Okay. So was it you who looked out, or you guys just got together and decided to, start a, wealth fund? How did you guys get started with, starting your own business?
So we met through a third person at the time who introduced us when I was 23, 24 years old.
Wow. Wow, quite young. That is great. When I was looking at your resume, one of the things is like, where is Muhlenberg College? Where is that located?
It's in down in Allentown, Pennsylvania, about 60 miles north of Philadelphia.
Okay, beautiful part of the state. Great. Well, thank you, Madam Chair. That's my questions for right now.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I just want to acknowledge our Madam Treasurer, Carmen Sierra, who's on the screen with us also. Councilwoman Hercules, you have the floor.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, and welcome, Mr. Gottfried. Certainly a very illustrious career and background of experience. Just a couple of questions. As you probably heard earlier, and you probably are aware, we are going to be deliberating or discussing a cost of living adjustment that's on the table here, and we haven't had one since 2007, and we have no automatic cost of living in our pension currently. Just wondering what your thoughts are around what's currently being proposed, as well as the possibility of us in the future adopting an automatic cost of living increase.
Yeah, so I think as I was looking through everything I could find from publicly, right, it looks like the decision on the cost of living is for the council and the mayor. I think if I end up being one of the commissioners, I think it's my option, it's my duty really to try to make sure that the pension fund is as healthy as possible, so that way you all have options to discuss. And I think that's sort of how I'm looking at this.
And then my other question is just with respect with us obviously being in a municipality and wanting to ensure that our investments are not only investments that are going to grow and allow our pension fund to grow, but also investments that are aligned to our values as a city, socially and ethically. So I'm just wondering, in your experience, what types of due diligence goes into play when you are advising your clients on making investments that are not, in the prison industrial complex, for example, and things that would be contrary to ethical values?
I think those things are all really important. I think there's also, a conversation to be had about making sure that there's diverse fund managers within there that have diverse backgrounds and experiences. I think that all makes a lot of sense, both on asset allocation and risk management that way, but also on, overall growth of the portfolio, which is going to become really important.
Thank you.
Councilman Gale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, Mr. Gottfried. Unlike Councilwoman Surgeon, I actually know where Muhlenberg College is. I went to Penn, and at least at that time, they were on our football schedule, if I recall. I don't know if the same was true for you.
You guys got better and we've gotten worse, I think, but yes.
Your resume speaks of an abbreviation AUM. I'm not familiar with that. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. In the wealth management field, with what we do, the way that businesses are measured in size is a term of assets under management most of the time. So the AUM is just short for assets under management.
So with respect to the city of Hartford, what's your understanding of the assets under management?
So I don't have my notes in front of me on exactly what the size is, but it was in excess of $1 billion pension fund that I was looking at.
And what's your experience in terms of managing that size fund?
Yeah, so we right now have 1.7 billion under management, but it's set up differently, right? From what I could tell, and again, I only have access right now to the information I could find that was public, but it looks like the way that it's set up currently is you're in a situation where, unlike our field where we have individual clients who then have similar investments, you parse it out into a number of different investment advisors. And so then you accumulate the pieces together. And so I think I've been on a number of investment committees where we've made similar decisions, although the investment committees have been smaller in size than the city of Hartford is.
And so picking up on Councilwoman Hercules, I don't know if she was getting at, sort of the philosophy of investment and in particular concerns that investment be aligned with philosophy of the city. Have you developed any philosophies of investment along those lines over the years with your existing clients?
It's a great question. So I think when we invest for our clients, we have some clients that do not want to be restricted by any sort of social norms, and we have certain clients who very much do want to be. I don't see a negative one way or the other. And so I think when you do that, the idea is just to make sure that you design it in such a way that where you can be compliant with the design, so that way it's something that you can be consistent with over time.
So you're perfectly comfortable with I think, just as a for instance, if I'm not mistaken, this council passed a resolution just about 12 months ago when Russia invaded the Ukraine, asking our treasurer and our pension commission to take a good look and back off from anything that would support Russia in that endeavor. You'd certainly be comfortable with those types of things.
I think they would certainly be wise from a social perspective, and a lot of the time also from an economic perspective.
All right, thank you very much. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Are there any follow-up questions for Mr. Gottfried? Councilman Clark?
Thank you again, and I'm sorry, I had to step away, so I apologize if I am repeating a question that was asked by my council colleagues. But to the public, they may not be aware of what the Pension Commission does for the pensioners in the city of Hartford. What are your thoughts about doing some type of, I know Councilwoman Surgeon talked about literacy for our young people in the school system, but overall for our community, your thoughts on having classes or speaking about, the diversification of funds. What is a pension? I know pensions are far and few with a lot of organizations these days, but the rationale behind having a healthy pension fund for city employees, as well as those that are living in the community.
Yeah. So I mean, I really do feel strongly about the financial literacy stuff. I think that is something that is missing right now in the education system, and is incredibly important all the way around. And you're right.
And as far as like equity, because our city is made up of a diverse population, and where you have many neighborhoods who are low income. What are your thoughts on really getting some type of messaging out regarding investments and the proper way to do investments? Since a person of your stature in your portfolio, I'm quite sure that you've done a significant amount of investments and maybe some seminars regarding that.
Yeah, it's not something I've been asked before. I would obviously have to spend some time thinking about how to do it in such a way that was really beneficial and had a lot of people to have a certain takeaway that was in their best interest and was something that was tangible for them. But I think having some sort of financial literacy stuff is really important.
And my last question, I was under the last council, we worked with the mayor Councilman Gale would remember this, where we created the, I believe it was the 401A program. Are you aware about that, and what are your thoughts about that?
So I haven't looked into that at all. I apologize. I can certainly do that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
So Mr. Gottfried, let's say you were appointed to the Pension Commission. What would be your two priorities based on or your recommendations to the other members of the Pension Commission based on the public information that you have reviewed so far?
Sure. So when I went through things, I don't yet know that I have a full handle on the amount of risk that's taken and exactly how investment managers are decided upon. Those are going to be the first two things I would want to understand much better. I think once you have those two pieces, then the other pieces start to fall into place as far as how to make sure that the portfolio is designed properly and to benchmark it. And I'm sure that's all being done. And those would be the things that I would want to make sure. I would suspect I'll probably ask a lot more questions than give answers for the first couple of meetings until I really get a good handle on how it's set up already, because I'm sure it's done well.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Councilwoman Surgeon?
Chair, I'm just going to follow up and where Councilman Gale was going. Mr. Godfrey, please, I apologize for my limited knowledge. So if a question sounds really simple, bear with me. So the way the city invests their funds is they ask different investment managers, different corporations to actually invest the funds. And so, the selections of those investment managers, what are your thoughts, making sure that there's diversity and different minority investment partners are at the table?
Yeah, so again, right, I don't know the right answer as far as exactly how it's set up yet. So I would obviously, need to know more specifics. But I mean, I think one of the main tenets of investing is asset allocation. And I think that most of us are a product of our own personal experience, right? Like we come into most things based on what we've seen in our own past. And adding fund managers or making sure that there's fund managers with a diverse background who've had different experiences is going to be able to add to that asset allocation and make it that much more likely that they're not all going to be looking at things the same way, which should benefit the pension over time.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Clark, you had a follow-up question or comment?
I do, through you, Madam President. Mr. Gottfried is replacing whom?
So I'm under the understanding that this seat has been vacant, I think, for a little over 4 years.
Is he replacing Frank Lord?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any other follow-up questions?
Not to Mr. Godfrey, Madam Chair, is I think the treasurer talked about the expiring date of 2026. Is that still correct, or that needs to be fixed? Not sure, Madam Chair.
Madam Treasurer, the expiring date was in question?
Yes, first of all, thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Godfrey. How are you? Yes, it is. The mayor proposed for the term expiring 2026, but the chart that I just submitted to you, all of you recently, a few minutes ago, it is 2025. And I have all the backup for the letters that were reappointed to when Frank was there. He started in 2005. Mayor Segarra appointed him again in 2009 and then 2013. And it's every 3 years, a staggered year for every commissioner. It's important. So the next, it will fall, your ending term will be 2025. That needs to be corrected.
Is Corporation Counsel on the line? Madam Chair.
Councilman Gale?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. I appreciate the treasurer's concern. It does seem to me it's a matter that Corp Council can resolve for us back at when we're, when this is out of committee. I don't know that it's something that needs a resolution tonight. I think it's kind of interesting because it kind of strikes me that nobody's been reappointed for some time. I'm not sure that anybody, I mean, I see how the treasurer has tracked everybody through, but I'm not so sure that we've actually done these reappointments every 3 years. They're just sort of serving until until a replacement is been chosen, or until we decide to reappoint. But anyway, it just seems to me that we can resolve that later on. I don't think we need to resolve it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We could always amend the resolution on the floor. Are there any other Councilwoman Hercules?
I'm just curious, how many seats still remain vacant on this commission? So it seems like if Mr. Gottfried was approved, we would have 3 individuals.
Madam President, can I say a few words?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you.
So are you going to answer Councilwoman Hercules' question also?
Absolutely.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. So presently, the Pension Commission voting membership, as a matter of fact, I sent this to you a few minutes ago. The Pension Commission voting membership is comprised of 2 individuals right now. Peter Stevens, the chairman, last formally appointed by Mayor Segarra in 2010, and has been serving on a continued basis since his formal appointment expired in February 2014. Jean Goldman, serving in the position which requires the appointee to be an actuary, last formally appointed by Pedro Segarra, 2010, and has been serving on a continued basis since formal appointed expired February 2012. Both of these individuals are long-term members with enormous expertise and immense institutional knowledge. They are an invaluable resource to my office, the pension fund, and the city is most fortunate to have them. They have been faithful, fiduciary, demonstrating even good judgment, fundamental fairness, while also keeping the best interests of the plan's beneficiary and taxpayer upmost in their mind. As you are no doubt aware, the Pension Commission is unquestionable the most significant of the city numerous boards and commissions, responsible for the oversight of the pension fund, a value in excess of $1 billion. It is critical to continue operation of the commission and oversight of the pension fund that these individuals be reappointed for the full terms at the earliest possible opportunity. As to Mr. Gottfried, while I have not had the pleasure of meeting him until today, I am sure the mayor has not made this appointment without serious consideration of the credential necessary to serve. However, there is a technical flaw, which you just noticed, the expiring date 2026, which the chart that I provided shows the breakdown of 2025. In addition, I have discussed previously, I feel strongly that as indicated in the charter that many of you were part of, diversity boards and commission should reflect the cultural makeup of the city in order to achieve a representative balance of this residents, of our residents, which again, Mr. Gottfried would be starting now in the term will finish 2025. And I do have all the backups, so. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Councilwoman Hercules?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Treasurer, and through you, Madam President. I don't know if I missed it, but I'm just trying to figure out how many seats would remain vacant on this commission if Mr. Gottfried is it just the 3? That's the full?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I didn't pick that up. Thank you. And then I guess my only other question is just considering that Treasurer Sierra did not meet with Mr. Gottfried. I'm just curious if there were other individuals who are being contemplated for the seat who our treasurer is more familiar with, given that this individual in this commission works so closely with her office.
I was not given the opportunity to discuss any candidates or meet any candidates or the commissioners or staff.
Thank you.
Councilman Clark, followed by Councilwoman Surgeon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I just wanted to give some clarity to Councilwoman Hercules' question. So if I understand it correctly, and I'm noticing that we don't have corporation counsel on our meeting, so that's a little concerning for me since we don't have anybody from our legal team here. However, there are 4 members of the Pension Commission, but 3 are voting. And so Mr. Godfrey will be a voting member. You have Mr. Stevens and then the other individual, which I'm sorry, I cannot name. And then there's a representative from the Hartford Police Union, which is a non-voting member. And of course, our treasurer, which is an ex officio member, which is secretary to the pension board.
That's correct.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Through you, Madam Chair, just want to follow up. Also clarification. This is a mayoral appointment, and lots of the appointments the mayor represents to the council have not met with a lot of the boards and commission. The mayor in his role as the appointee, and we basically confirm what he's recommends to us. We do our due diligence by making the questions to the individual, and then also, make a decision of how should we agree or disagree with the mayor. So just want to clarify that, when that's why the meetings not happened with, the treasurer.
Councilman Gale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And just want to note, I think it was noted before, but it might bear repeating that this particular seat on the Pension Commission has been vacant for probably going on 4 years now. And so during that time, clearly anybody with an interest or a candidate to promote could have come forward, and we haven't had one until now. So I would make a motion that we send this back to council at this point with a favorable recommendation.
First of all, with all due respect, Councilman Gale and Shirley Surgeon, this is
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have a motion on the floor that first needs to be second to have a discussion. Is there a second?
Yes.
So there's a motion on the floor to send back this item with a favorable recommendation from Councilman Gale and Councilwoman Surgeon. And now I'm going to open it up for discussion. Madam Treasurer, you have the floor.
Sorry. The position has been vacant for 5 years, and it's a staggered position. So if we do the numbers for Commissioner Frank Lord, his term will be up in 2025. I'm just saying to be the technical, to be addressed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilwoman Hercules.
So this is a quick question before I give my comments. If Corp Counsel is not here to weigh in on that technical change, I don't know how we can effectively vote on the motion as is with that error in the term. So I'm just trying to figure out, I'm still new, but I'm pretty sure that we need to do something before we can vote on it as it stands with that error.
Well, it's a technical error that we can change through an amendment on the floor. It does not prevent it from leaving the committee. Councilman Clark.
No, what I was going to say is that I just wanted to make sure that is something that we can actually amend now.
Yes.
In committee, so that it can, once it gets to council next week, we don't have to do that now. We can actually make it amend the actual resolution in committee now, and then it will be a substitute resolution.
Well, I do understand, everyone's concerned, but I would not want to take a vote on that. I mean, unless the majority wants to, without hearing from Corporation Counsel.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Councilman Gale, amend his motion
Well,
with the, with
yeah,
Councilman Gale.
happy to,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon, but I'm a little concerned. I don't I don't want to prejudge what Corp Counsel is going to say. I guess I could amend the motion to say that I move the nomination, the appointment forward pursuant to whatever term Corp Counsel deems appropriate.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. That I will second.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor and seconded by Councilwoman Surgeon. Are there any further discussions before we take a vote? All those in favor signify by saying yes, Councilwoman Hercules.
Sorry, I was putting my hand up for further discussion. Certainly, I think Mr. Godfrey does have the experience and expertise, but there have been a couple of just concerns just regarding the process. I understand this is a mayoral appointment, right? However, because this is such an important commission and it works closely with one of our, department heads, it just seems like as a practice, it would make sense for the department head to be introduced and to talk with that person and to build a rapport and to be able to, propose even alternatives, particularly with respect to the fact that this council body, and I believe our mayor as well, has articulated a commitment to diversity and diversifying and increasing representation across our boards and commissions. I've heard from several community members who have said they've reached out to the administration trying to figure out how to get on different commissions, and people are not being responded to. And so I think, when the process doesn't lend itself to be open and inclusive, it certainly is a turnoff to our constituents and to our general public. And again, this is not any slight to Mr. Godfrey. It's just an observation with the practice. Even if something is, written down in our ordinances that this is the way, that doesn't mean that we can't find ways to be more inclusive and to be more collaborative, particularly when, these types of commissions really do affect many of our residents and people who have now, no longer live in the city. So it's just an observation about the process. Hopefully going forward, we can figure out ways where this council body can be a little bit more proactive in ensuring that these appointments have other considerations, other folks to consider, bring to the mayor's attention, possibly a more diverse body of potential candidates. So
Thank you. Councilman Clark?
Through you, Madam President, I see our corporation counsel is on, so I'm not sure if you wanted to kick it over to him for him to weigh in on the amended question.
Yes. Hello, Corporation Counsel Rifkin. There is a question of the term expiring in 2026.
Okay.
So Madam Treasurer had shared with Council, paperwork on she believes that the term should expire 2025. I have not had a chance to read it. And we were actually having the conversation of, could we amend this resolution in committee or vote it out of committee pending clarification on the term expiring? I did not feel comfortable making that kind of decision without your input on this.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a question of the expiration of the term, I don't have a direct answer to that question tonight, but you certainly can recommend this for favorable approval, subject to clarification at the next council meeting. And between now and then, we can figure out what the actual term is. I know that there are 3-year terms, so I don't know when this particular term expires.
Okay. So if they would be.
I mean, theoretically, since there is nothing, I'm just looking at the
right.
Commission provisions in the charter, and they were not changed by the by charter revision, and So again, there are 3 members. There are now 3-year terms for each member, but I don't know when this particular member's or the person that this member is, who we're proposing to replace, when that particular term will expire.
Okay, I think that's a fair enough explanation. So for the record, Councilman Gale, if you could withdraw all your 2 motions and just for clarification, state your motion again, please.
Sure, I'm moving that we send this back to council with a favorable recommendation to be amended at the council floor as per the recommendation of Corp Counsel at that time, after having reviewed the terms of the existing pension commissioners and the one that the vacancy we're replacing.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. All of those who wish to send this back favorably to the council, please signify by saying aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays? The ayes have it. This item is being sent back to council with a favorable recommendation. Mr. Joshua Godfrey, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your evening.
You too. You can, stay on with us or feel free to disconnect from our Zoom call.
I'm going to
Have a
sneak
nice
home and
evening.
see if I can tuck my 3-year-old in for bed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Next item on the agenda is item 2.2. Mayor Bonin with a company resolution authorizing the ground lease of 270, 292, and 298 Albany Avenue and 10 Green Street to Anna Dalib Enterprise LLC. Now, this item was on our prior agenda, and it was postponed on agenda until the developer met with the NRZ Clay Arsenal, and I believe that has happened. And we have here Aaron Howard, along with Director Charles' team, to give us an update on this item.
Thank you, Council President Rosado. I'll actually have William Diaz provide the update and I, Charles, as they participated in the NRZ meeting recently.
Thank you.
Hello, council members. As you recall, this was presented a few weeks ago, and I think the committee was favorable to the project, except that it didn't have official support from the neighborhood. So on the February 7th meeting of the Clay Arsenal NRZ, the project was presented. The neighborhood was excited about finally getting some activity at this historic building that was basically blighted for several years. They also supported the fact that the city was enforcing the 15% MWBE requirement and a 30% Hartford resident go. So I did receive a letter of support from the NRZ this afternoon that I can either put it up on the screen or I can email the council members if need be.
Councilman Clark?
Since Mr. Diaz offered through you, Madam President, can he put it up on the screen?
Sure. All right, bear with me. I have too many things open here.
Take your time.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. And so there was a bit of confusion at first because I didn't know they were going to send it directly to the developer because he's the one that gave the presentation and we attended the meeting. But when I reached out to them, they were more than happy to provide the letter of support to me this afternoon. So.
So we can see here clearly that the Clay Arsenal NRZ is in full support of this project.
And Council President, I can also send a copy to your attention if you guys want to include them in the file.
Absolutely. Do any of my council colleagues have any questions on this letter before Williams takes that off the screen?
John Gale, Council President.
I'm sorry, Council. Yes, Councilman Go. I can't really see you on the screen.
Yeah, we need Mr. Diaz to take it off the.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. It's not a question on the letter itself, but it is a question on the underlying deal. Going back to the term sheet here, I thought, and I'm sure somebody will correct me here, but in terms of assignment and transfer of the ground lease, my understanding from this term sheet is that it could be transferred at any time. Well, let's see, it can be transferred to an affiliate company to be formed and controlled by the principals of the developer. I take it that means it can't be transferred to anybody else without the approval of the city. And I guess that's what I'm concerned with. I want to make sure that if somebody was going to move in and buy this out at a profit, that the city gets to have a seat at the table before that's approved.
I think typically that language we put in there on the term sheet, because usually when we put out an RFP and an entity bids on a project, during the purchase and sales agreement or lease agreement, they might create their own LLC. So but it's not meant for a transfer while the project is created.
Okay, so I get that, but to my point, if 3 years from now they try to sell this to the project to somebody else, they're not going to get these same tax benefits unless we approve it. Is that correct?
Yeah, they would in essence be breaking the ground lease with the city. So yeah, I mean, we would have to.
They'd have to come and we could have an opportunity to negotiate something at that point.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. That's my only question. Thank you.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I believe at the last committee meeting when this was presented, we went over all this information. I think one of the good things which I thought was really great in the way the term was structured is the pilot program. And I think it was a good thing that I've not seen before. So I don't really have any additional questions for the administration, on this project, because I think we have gone over this before. So if nobody else have any questions or concern, I would like to favorably send this back to council.
I'll second that.
So there's a motion on the floor and properly second. Any questions, any discussions? There being none. So signify by saying aye if you wish to move this item back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions, any nays? The ayes have it. This item is going back to council with a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, item 2.3, Mayor Brown with accompanying ordinance, amendment of section 32-18 of the municipal code, which is our elderly tax relief. And we have our city assessor, John Phillip, here to present. Mr. Phillip, you have the floor.
Thank you, Majority Leader. For those of you I don't know, I'm John Phillip. I'm the city assessor. Every year we have to update our local elderly tax relief ordinance. This is an ordinance, and I apologize. I do not have all the information I'd hoped for. I haven't worked from home for a while, and I had problems trying to run a report out of my system, so I don't know exactly how many people we're talking about here. But so there are two elderly tax relief programs, one that the state requires of the city and one that the city chooses to do. That's the one we're talking about tonight. We have done this since about 1982. For the first 40 years, the benefit was a flat $500, as opposed to the state program, which is a sliding scale based on income. Last year, council raised that 500 to 750, I think, in the wake of the 2021 revaluation. So the two things that we need to update every year, one, we have to, and that is just the grand list year that it applies to. Were we not to do that, the program would just evaporate. And the other is addressing the income limits. We have tried over time to link our income limits for our program, which are higher than the state's limits, to HUD's annual low and moderate income limit. And so this year we are proposing to raise the income limit for a single person from, I think it's $55,950 to $62,600, and for a married couple from $63,950 to $71,550. Those are big jumps, like in the area of 12%. I think that is a reflection of what's going on in the world. And we would recommend that we stay with the HUD numbers. And those are the only changes we're proposing. And by the by, I get the number of people that are receiving the elderly credit is somewhere in the neighborhood of 600. I do not know the annual cost, and I apologize for that. I can easily forward that to council tomorrow. It's a number that has been, at least the number of participants, it's a number that has been steadily declining. However, again, in the wake of the 2021 revaluation, we take over the application period is February through May 15th. And we've been taking people's names since the bills went out in July, for anybody who was not enrolled in the program but wanted a reminder letter. And we send out over about 100 of those, which is roughly 3 times the annual norm.
Thank you, Mr. Phillip. I was going to ask you for a ballpark figure, so thank you for providing that. And please, if you could, send this out to us as soon as you could, so that we can review before our next council meeting. And yes, for that 2021 reval, that did hit many residents with multifamily parcels. So, if anything that we can do to help our city residents kind of recoup that, that would be greatly appreciated to our colleagues. So, are there any of my colleagues that have any questions? I'll do ladies first, Councilwoman Surgeon, and then Councilman Gale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment, another question. Thank you very much for the council to consider raising that income limit, because basically the income limit is like 80% of the medium income, for Connecticut. So, and that, basically, we have a lot of seniors, young retirees. I consider 65 to be young, retirees who, are making, between their pensions and Social Security, that income that we were using of 55,000 a little bit low. So I just want to make that comment. And also thank you to the council members who really considered raising that to 750. I think it's It's a small relief to our seniors, the ones who have stuck with us in the city and wanted to continue to live with us and stay here. So and thank you, Mr. John, for doing this, because I know you're being bombarded right now, with all this that's coming in. That's it, Mr. Chair.
I thank you. I tell them, don't hurry down in the wintertime, pick a nice day in the spring, because there's really no need to rush down in February, although this February has been pretty warm.
And just a reminder that we do have a public hearing on this tonight at 7 o'clock. So we could, I think we've done it before. We're pending the public hearing. We can approve it favorably. But Councilman Gale, you have the floor. Oh,
yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to make sure I'm understanding the context here, you indicated it's about 600 people that are currently participating, and you're expecting, given we're raising these limits, that pool might expand. But doing the numbers in my head, it doesn't sound to me like this is anything that's going to be a killer to our budget. And I just am wondering if I'm right, if another 100 people take advantage of this, so an increase of 16 to 20% participation in the program, if another 100 people took advantage of the program, that would cost our budget $75,000. Am I right about that?
Right. I just did. So I think right now there's about 600 people. If there were 700, you'd be talking a total annual bill of $525,000.
Yeah, I kind of remember this from when we had the discussion last year about increasing it. So I certainly makes sense. So I'm happy, Mr. Chair, to put a motion on the floor to send this back favorably pending the outcome of the 7 o'clock public hearing. And I can tell you that I've received word that nobody has signed up yet to speak at that public hearing.
A second.
Thank you, Councilman. Motion has been made by Councilman Gale with a favorable recommendation pending the outcome of the public hearing tonight at 7, and second by Councilwoman Surgeon. Are there any discussions?
The only other thing I would add, I think Corp Counsel may tell us that because it's an ordinance change, it still needs 30 days. I don't know if it's got the 30 days yet, but I'm sure they'll remind us.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I don't think so. It actually has to have 2 readings, not 30 days. And it will not have had that. And so even if you move this out of committee, pending no changes in the public hearing, I don't believe you will be able under our charter to take up the ordinance change at the meeting on the 27th. So I think my recommendation would be to leave it in committee and vote it out at the next OMBGA meeting. And as I think John Phillips said, this isn't urgent because he was encouraging people to come down in the spring and file for the tax relief program.
Right. Thank you, Howard. The urgency comes when it's close to time to calculate the bills, which is like the end of May, early June.
Okay. Being that our Corporation Counsel weighed in, Councilman, would you like to withdraw your motion and make a new one?
I will do so, assuming the second wants to join me, and I'll just I'll withdraw that one. And I'll make it a motion to postpone it and keep it in this committee.
Second, the new amendment, the new motion.
Motion has been made by Councilman Gale, second by Councilwoman Surgeon to postpone this item to our next OMBGA committee. Any discussions? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. This motion has passed, is unanimous, and it is, it's passed, and it is postpone until our next meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on. Item 2.4, resolution by myself, Council President Rosado, Assistant Majority Leader Rossetti, and Councilwoman Surgeon, calling for iCompass to be used across city boards, commissions, and task force to increase transparency. And we have looks like our entire town and city clerk's office here. Mr. Clerk, you may take it away.
Good evening, council members. As you're aware, through a grant we received years ago, we purchased the iCompass Civic Web platform. It's been an immediate success. We went from a small number of around 200 people receiving notifications to meeting to 6,000, and we're growing that. We've also had different departments want to use the system to post their agendas, meetings, and minutes as the efficiency of the system and the ease that the public can receive and view the documents and schedule. And as you're aware, our council agendas and everything is on this platform, and it's been a real easy platform to navigate and to get that information and to increase transparency and increase civic engagement. The city currently we have two systems now, the iCompass, which came on through our initiative in the town clerk's office, and the meetinginfo.org, which was a system that was donated to the city by Kyle and Amy Berkowitz some years ago, because they have been fed up with not being able to retrieve documents and agendas and meetings. I spoke with Kyle Berkowitz, and he recognized the advantages of the iCompass over the meeting info, and we've talked about how we can migrate all of the information from meetinginfo.org over to iCompass. The system would be up for now, and as we get the city staff trained and up to date on how to utilize the iCompass platform, we'll get all the information, everything into one nice little neat system where everyone can access all the meetings and agendas and minutes and resolutions and ordinances and everything. Well, not the ordinance right now. That's still with Muni code, but we do have a link to that. What else? It's a lot here, but we will be training, or we're talking with iCompass about providing training to all city staff. As you're aware, the charter gave the town and city clerk's office a greater role in doing outreach on boards and commissions, which we have begun. We'll be training them and showing them the different organizations. We reached out to all of the NRZs, and we're going to reach out to a lot of community-based organizations to promote the iCompass platform. So with that, we do have our whole staff on, not a whole staff, but the council, the clerk staff on, and if you would like a demonstration on how it would be utilized from the boards and commissions, we can have Haley give you if you give her permission, she'll give you a short demonstration on how it will be utilized. The boards and commissions, the folks would be really doing three things: posting agendas, meeting notices, and the minutes. And also we will be, all of the boards and commissions that do not have city staff, we will be implementing that for them.
Hello, this is Haley. So as you can see here, we currently have majority of our boards and commissions already up on the iCompass website. And if you could see here, we also have an apply button. We have memberships, because I know as we were discussing the pension commission, there were some discrepancies about that, or memberships. Well, here you could see the membership term and where they go. And if there's any vacancies, they can apply here as well. So it is user friendly. with that. Mostly what the resolution calls for is for city staffers to use this for their meetings. So majority of what they would be doing is, if my computer moves, yes, they would be doing similar to what we do as for city council. They'll be just creating their agendas on the main portal on the iCompass system. So their agendas will kind of look like this, and it keeps it transparent. Currently, right now, we have over 30 boards and commissions, and that means we have different types of agendas coming in and coming out. So it's hard for, constituents to understand or read. So this, at least all the boards and commissions will have similar layouts. And if you click here, you'll see the minutes, and we'll have the minutes in red for the boards and commissions. So it makes it easier for residents to actually read and go through. And I'm hoping, as well as, the town clerk, we're hoping that we can also utilize this video button for the boards and commissions, which we currently do for the city council meetings. So right here, you'll see the recording of the meeting as well as the meeting agenda. So that's basically what the iCompass system does do, and what we're trying to get all the boards and commissions to move along forward with. On the main page, they also have a subscription. So this is where they can go if they would like to subscribe to a boards or commission or task force. And as well as the applications, we are working with the mayor's office to upgrade this to make sure our current application is also similar to this one that we have online. So yeah, any questions basically?
Thank you for that.
No problem.
Is there a cost to integrate meetinginfo.org into iCompass?
Currently, we paid for it 3 years in advance when we got the grant. I think the renewal, which is due, I think next year, is $25,000.
For meeting info?
No, there's no cost for meeting info for iCompass.
Okay, so there's no cost to integrate meeting.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. No, we'll work together with Kyle on that. We have to get, we talked about a couple of different ways that he foresaw that if we went from meeting info to iCompass, that eventually there would not be a need for meetinginfo.org. And let me just give you a little background on that. Meetinginfo.org is an LLC that is wholly owned by Kyle and Amy Berkowitz. Having had an LLC that lost its website because of the lack of due diligence by the person who maintained it for me, that there are some shortfalls in that. If something was to happen to either one or both of them and the LLC went under, we would lose access to everything. So it's important that we bring everything over to iCompass, which is not an LLC, it's a corporation, and that it's a continuous life. Corporations live forever. So that would be one of the issues that we foresaw also happening.
And far as the training for city staff, how rigorous is the training, and what do you foresee? How many training opportunities will you be providing?
Well, first, it's because it's a limited role that they have. It's not the total operation of it. It's just 3 phases that they're going to be utilizing, and that is the notices, the agendas, and the minutes posting them. We figure anywhere between 3 to 5 hours of training. The first would be to get out the kinks, and the second would bring over the naysayers, and the third would be actually third or fourth or whatever to really implement it. So it's not a very difficult. We are in conversation with iCompass, but we could probably do it in-house also.
Okay, so iCompass will be willing to come out on site too?
Well, they don't come out on site; they do it remotely.
Remotely, okay.
All of our training with them, and they're in Canada and west part of the country. We did it all virtually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had another question. Oh, as far as backup, so obviously this is driven out of your office. Who are the ones that, if city staff or the commissions would have an issue with iCompass, or they're going to be, who's responsible for contacting your office? Who's that contact person?
That would be Haley, be the number one contact, and Eric is also, and then myself.
Okay, so the clerk's office is well staffed with handling the council's portion of iCompass, as well as the city departments.
Define well-staffed, Councilman. We're trying to make it work. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're also, just to let you know, we're cross-training all of our employees in the clerk's office, so it doesn't fall on one person. So there's my lights on timer, so time for me to go home, I guess. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna be that long.
Yeah. So yeah. Right now, Haley is the point person. I call her our iCompass expert. She knows the inside out, and we have continuous supports from iCompass people.
Okay.
So if there's any issues that come up that we can't handle, we can contact them also.
Okay, great.
And what the other thing, I know Councilwoman Surgeon was looking at another aspect of iCompass to help to facilitate the agendas. So we're working on that. It is available. It was available when we went through the training, but it hasn't been utilized. So we just have to get retrained or have people retrained so that they can follow the agenda and have the notes on electronically.
Okay.
So we're working on that also.
Okay, like such as what she just brought up her iPad. So.
Yeah. So I don't know if we left anything out. Eric, you had anything else?
No, I think ultimately the intent is just to get everything underneath one roof. I believe everybody on the council has supported the resolution, and we just look forward to working with the mayor's office, planning department, and making sure all the information is under one roof and transparent.
Okay, great. I'm not going to hog up the rest of the time. Councilwoman Surgeon.
To you, Mr. Chair, thank you. I remembered when the resolution was entered on the agenda, we did get the council leadership did get a memo from the city manager with questions on the implementation of this.
Yes.
Was that ever forwarded to the town clerk, and were the answers ever shared with the remaining council members?
I shared the answers with the COO, who asked the questions. I didn't forward them to council. If you want, I will share that with you. The questions really was what I just answered in my presentation about the migration from mediainfo.org costs. There was also one other component that we're exploring. As you're aware, we have Muni Code, which does the codification of our ordinances, and iCompass we may have a tracker that we already have that would also do that, but we have to look at the legal aspects of how they codify it. So if we can, we would also maybe in conversation with corporate counsel, utilize iCompass for that eventually and save some money there. It's a possibility.
Through you, Mr. Chair, couple of the questions. When you talk about staffing, we have how many different departments through the entire city and boards and commission. From my past experience, managing the city of Connecticut, similar function, the staffing for taking over this job of migrating everything to the town clerk's office, I am a little bit apprehensive of the staffing that's needed to get that done. Number two, where is our conversation with our IT department? Again, the migrations and everything else, and normally you would look to your IT department to make sure they're in, iCompass in compliance with the city information service. Compass can be gone, 10, 15 years from now. And if your IT department, also can't get in and do some information or change information, that partnership is really needed. Where are you guys on that?
Well, we were having a conversation with Kyle to figure out exactly what is on his site and what to do. And our next step is to bring in MHIS to make sure that whatever needed, whatever way he sees that we have to utilize to bring it over, to bring them in.
Staffing,
we don't have the same volume of what the state has. The staffing it's just bringing stuff over. It's really just a repository for information. It's not something that has to be dealt with once we bring it over from meetinginfo.org. It's there. It's in the system. It's archived. So it's there for.
Excuse me, Mr. Town Clerk. But for example, if there are mandatory meetings that has to be posted, who follows up on your staff to make sure, if the department doesn't, to make sure those mandatory meetings are posted? And so those are sort of the concerns I have, on staffing in your office. You're going to be taking over the entire city communication, with the community and boards and commission. I've got reservations regarding the staffing and what is needed to maintain that.
Okay, right now, it's the city staff that posts the information. They send it to meetinginfo.org, and the mayor's office, Gabby, posts it. Here we're training them how to post it themselves. They're responsible for their meetings, their notices, and their minutes.
And you are the
we are the receivers. We receive information. Yeah.
So who follows up from your office and making sure everything is received and properly filed?
We don't do that now. That's we're a receiving agent. They send us their notifications.
Okay. Again, through you, Mr. Chair, I think I would love to get some more information and actually see how this is going to work out. Not that I don't think it should be done. I just think how it's going to be implemented. I think that's the reservations which I have. And having the staff to do the implementation, maintaining of it. I still think you should go ahead and explore, but we really need to, the administrative side of it, that's where my reservation comes in.
Thank you. One quick question, and I'll turn it over to Councilman Gale. And it's doing a time check of 6:48. So for meetinginfo.org, that information regarding the boards and commissions, such as like ZBA and P&Z, that's all handled administratively with those departments that are responsible for that.
Yes.
Clerk's office has nothing to do with it at all.
Correct. And
except for they sending information regarding notices to your office.
Correct.
So essentially with iCompass, assuming the overall role of meetinginfo.org, that process, as what the city departments do for meetinginfo.org, will do the same thing for iCompass.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Gale?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Great questions that you asked, and thanks very much for the presentation from the town clerk's office. I'm pleasantly pleased that this resolution is asking you to do a lot more work, and you just stepped up and said, no problem here. We're going to get it done, and we're going to get all these done. So I'm sure we'll have, to Councilwoman Surgeon's concerns, I'm sure we're going to have some bumps along the road, but it certainly sounds like we're moving in the right direction. So heartily applaud you. And I would just reflect back with Haley that she may remember she and I, like 7 years ago, walked over to MHIS to try to figure out how to put council committee agendas and minutes on our website at that point. So we've really come a very long way since that time. So you're to be applauded. Mr. Chair, I'll move to send this back favorably to council.
And I'll second that. So motion has been made by Councilman Gill with favorable recommendation, seconded by myself. Is there any discussion on this matter?
I do have something to say, just one moment.
Yes,
To
ma'am.
Councilwoman Surgeon's concerns. Yes, currently, or the city staff will be doing the same thing that, for example, what the legislative aides do currently right now in the council office. They upload your committee agendas by themselves on the iCompass system, and they do their reports on the iCompass system. So essentially, the city staffers will be doing that themselves. No, we do not run after for example, some of the legislative aides in the council office saying, hey, did you guys put your agendas out for your meeting? That is their job, and that is what they are essentially their duties of the role that they're taking. And that's the same thing as for a city staffer. They know when their meeting should be posted at least 48 hours in advance due to, the statute, or 24 hours, I believe, but mostly 48 hours. So that is basically what they would be doing. We are, as our town clerk said, the receiving agents. So we do not follow up or track with them. The only thing that we will do is, okay, if this meeting is essentially taking place and on a Tuesday, we want to make sure that they got their agenda in on a Friday. That's what we would be doing. We do not chase them and make sure, hey, did you put your meeting in for that day? That's not our job. Our role is just to receive their agendas in their minutes, just in case we do have a constituent come to our office wanting that information. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
And just to add to that, right now we receive those by email every day, all of the agendas, the meeting notices, and all we do is file them. They're here for inspection. Now, before we used to have a basket of this high of papers that they would be printed out or brought down, timestamp. The email is the timestamp. We've saved them in a file, and they are readily available for inspection to make sure they meet FOI requirements.
I think that we should make a huge push to go digital as much as possible to save on the cost of paper. But we can talk about that later. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor on this motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion is passed. It's favorable as a unanimous decision. Thank you very much. We look forward to taking this up in our next council meeting. Great presentation to you all, and we're looking forward of seeing this rolled out throughout the city.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And our last item for the evening is item 2.5, a ordinance by Council President Rosado amending Article 17 of Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code of Hartford, which had a public hearing date way back in June, on June 20th. So I think I can read your mind, Councilman, so I will give you the floor.
Councilwoman Rosado is not with us, and so I will move to postpone this item.
I second the postponement.
Well, I'm sorry. Motion has been made to postpone. It's been seconded by Councilman Surgeon. Any discussions on
It's
this?
because you're wearing that really nice tie. That's
Mr. Chair,
Thank you,
this item has been here since May. How long does it stay in committee for perpetual? How long?
Listen,
until a new council.
till the new council comes. Yeah, I was going to say, see, you read in my mind. I was going to say this has been in our committee for quite some time now.
Yeah.
I think just back in
We've had some experience with some of those.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So any discussion on this item? Hopefully, maybe we can take this up soon. But we will. I agree with you, Councilwoman Hercules. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of postponing indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. The ayes have it. This item is postponed once again until our next committee meeting in March. Seeing that we have no other business to discuss tonight, this committee meeting is now adjourned. Stay tuned and for 6 more minutes for our public hearing committee, which Councilman Gale is doing me a huge favor of chairing tonight, and I will swap with him in March. So thank you very much. Stay safe, be healthy, and have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.